Hello and welcome to our broadcast. I'm Teresa Thethel Edmondson, and I serve as the Vice President of Spiritual Health for Providence St. Joseph Health. As a reminder, the information provided during this event is for educational purposes only. If you have any questions regarding medical conditions or treatment plans, please consult your physician or medical provider. Now let's get started. I'm really excited about this broadcast because we have three excellent leaders here in Providence St. Joseph Health who are joining us. And please introduce them to you. First is Father Freddie Otrin. He serves as the Director of Spiritual Care at Providence St. Vincent's Medical Center and Providence Portland Medical Center in Portland, Oregon. Welcome, Father Freddie. I'm also happy to introduce Teleso Satelli, who serves as the CPE Manager, as well as an ACPE certified educator for Providence St. Joseph Health in Southern California. Welcome, Teleso. And then I'm also pleased to introduce Deborah Thompson. Deborah Thompson serves as manager for spiritual care at Providence Swedish, our medical centers, which includes 5 different campuses. So Deborah, welcome as well. I'm excited about this conversation because as we all serve as chaplains, lately the conversation has been about spiritual health. What does that mean? What does that look like? And so I'm going to turn to you all who are the experts. And Father Freddie, if you could talk about what do we mean when we say spiritual health?
That's really a very good question, Teresa, and thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this important conversation. Spiritual health is really about meaning, about purpose, about balances and quality in one's life and relationships. It is a state of inner peace, whatever the circumstance is. I remember a story of a patient who was going in for a medical procedure and asked to pray with the chaplain. And after the prayer, the patient said, "Thank you," and then added something that has really stayed with me. She said, "Whatever happens from here, I am at peace and I will be at peace." That is spiritual health, a state of inner peace. For this patient, it was prayer that brought it. For somebody else, maybe something else, depending on their own spirituality. And I would like to add that being and staying spiritually healthy matters because it influences every aspect of our lives, including relationships, connections to self, to the other, to nature, and to the divine.
Thank you, Father Freddie. The story is really helpful, right? It kind of helps illustrate what we mean. I am curious, particularly Teleso, because you help train people who provide spiritual health services. And I'm just wondering if you could say a little bit more, elaborating a little bit what Father Freddie talked about, but also I'm wondering if you could talk about, we normally have used the term spiritual care. And Father Freddie and I have talked about spiritual health. Could you talk about that in terms of also when you're training the next generation of chaplains?
Sure. I see spiritual care within the context of the hospital. And I think I draw the big differences in which spiritual care is a service that we provide. And the main focus is within the hospital is crisis intervention, right? Mm-hmm. People are coming in the hospital, they have a lot of anxiety, they have fears. And so our spiritual care departments, we visit these patients, and hopefully the ultimate goal is, like Father Freddie says, that they experience a sense of peace in their hospitalization, and it can ease their way. Spiritual health, it actually it reflects a vision of growth, right? Beyond the hospital. It's everybody's daily life, this vision of wholeness that we can achieve. So there's definitely the component of potential and growth in it and feeling whole. And like Father Freddie says, that when we look at ourselves holistically, spiritual, the mind, body, and when everything's in sync, I like to use the word that Brene Brown used, you tend to have this wholeheartedness about yourself, right? Relationships are better. You feel more alive. And so this is kind of like over your lifespan. It's not limited just to one time in your life or in the hospital context.
Wow, that is, I appreciate that insight. And I find myself thinking when you talk about the whole self, I mean, we talk about that at Providence in the family of organizations, that we provide that whole person care. And Deborah, you have many different ways that we provide that whole person care in the ministry where in the location where you serve. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about that, expanding what Telsa had shared.
Well, for us, I think the greatest gift that we can give to our patients is the gift of listening and learning about where their spirituality, that place of meaning lives for them, um, and seeing how they can use that as a tool for healing, for wholeness. Sometimes they're not in a place of um, peace, and we can accompany them in that journey and help to let them talk about what that feels like for them and help them to even to find what it is that gives them meaning that they may not associate with what it is to be spiritual. We have the privilege of utilizing um, two dogs that were raised by canine companions. One of those is a facility dog, and the other is a therapy dog. And they provide an amazing bridge of connection to patients who might not otherwise be open to a visit from one of us. And it comes to a place of making them more comfortable about sharing. And sometimes there aren't even words, but it's enough to give them a connection that may open up some conversations later. We've also been able to utilize ways of connecting individuals to their own loved ones or spiritual communities using um, iPads. That was something that we quickly began to utilize as part of the changes that we experienced with the pandemic. And for us, being present is what we have learned. And to be able to utilize technology to help to create that time of presence has been really one of the things that we have been really pleased to be able to offer.
And it's been amazing. And I love what you said in terms of the fact that we do offer this sometimes outside of words. And it is that supportive presence. I want to turn to Father Freddie, just because when you said that, reminded me of also Father Freddie's in his department. There's ways that we do it outside of words. And I'm wondering, Father Freddie, if you could talk about, particularly I think about the healing arts that you provide through music. And some of our professionals there. Could you speak a little bit to that, how we provide that presence?
One of the things that I think we do well at Providence is caring for our caregivers. That for every patient that we are caring for, the chaplain and our music thanatologist is caring for three people in essence. Caring for that patient, caring for their loved ones, and caring for the caregivers actually supporting the patient. And we do that because we firmly believe that you cannot give what you don't have. If you are not cared for, you will not be able to care for the people that you are entrusted to. If you don't have that peace, you will not be that peace and will not give that peace. And another reason why we do this, so that our caregivers can stay grounded. We are in a very challenging times, in this time especially. And the best way we can stay grounded is by providing people with the support that they need, especially in this time. I'm always reminded by image of a tree that fell and kept growing, and it kept growing because some of its roots were still grounded. This is what spiritual care does. This is what spiritual health means, that we stay grounded no matter the circumstances.
Father Freddie, and I think I want to expand a little bit more about the caregiver support. You said a term that I'm not sure everyone's familiar with, and that's music thanatology. Could you explain what that discipline is and how that works really well in spiritual health services that we provide?
Especially St. Vincent and PPMC, where I serve, we are really blessed with our two music thanatologists who support patients, especially at the end of life. They use the harp and their voice to support these patients. And they do such an amazing job. It brings comfort where it is most difficult in the lives of the patients and their loved ones when they're going through a lot, through grief and so forth. They are there available and playing this music, and you can't imagine the peace and comfort that it brings to the room and the space.
Thank you. Thank you for talking about that. what you also made me think about is just the creative way and the vast way we provide the support. I was wondering, Tulsa, if you could talk a little bit about, because you're blessed with actually having not only students, but also your own educators who work with you from very different, diverse spiritual backgrounds. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about spiritual health, how it addresses people from all different types of spiritualities.
Well, I think the beautiful thing about when we look at people holistically, it's understanding that as much as we'd like to be unique, there are some common things that we all share. And when it comes to spirituality and emotional support, I mean, everybody needs love. Everybody needs acceptance. Everybody needs attention. Everybody needs emotional safety. Everybody needs freedom. So these emotional needs are universal. And whether someone would be Muslim or Christian, or these needs are met in an encounter, a spiritual care encounter, where people feel acceptance and non-judged by people. And the wonderful thing is sometimes even as chaplains, they'll walk out of a patient room and the patient feels better, and then they're wondering, what just happened? I don't really know what I really did, but I'm very clear about what happened. Is that when they went within that encounter, somebody got to feel accepted, somebody got to feel loved, somebody got attention that they needed, but at times people can't name it, but those are very universal needs that everybody needs, mostly in time of crisis, because these needs tend to be heightened in time of crisis.
Yeah, and it kind of touches something that Deborah talked about earlier when she talked about that support that we provide beyond words, and when a person is trying to find some peace, right? Sometimes it's just being grounded in a love that is provided to them, and talk about how beautifully that expresses our mission and literally is a part of our mission statement. I'm going to put a question there, because one of the things that you mentioned, Tulsa, that I might be coming up for some of our viewers is, so what's the difference between spiritual health and mental health? And I don't know if anyone wants to hey, I'm ready to jump at it. Otherwise, I'm going to invite someone else. But is there, can you make that distinction? Is there a distinction between the two? Deborah, I saw that you went off mute, so I'm going to offer you to say if you can have some thoughts, and welcome Tulsa and Father Freddie too.
I'm not the expert here, but based on our experience with patients, many times there's a balance. Mind, body, and spirit all work together. And so there may be a distinction, but for some, those work very much together. And I believe it's by sitting with individuals that we can discern whether they might be having a spiritual struggle or if there's something that another professional might help to support them in. And that's where being a part of an interdisciplinary team is incredibly valuable. And we have such an amazing group of resources and individuals and caregivers that we work with that we can then partner with to help determine what is the struggle, if it's a struggle, or is there just an imbalance in the whole person that can be addressed in a different way than we might be able to offer in that moment.
And I'm so glad you mentioned about the interdisciplinary components of it. Father Freddie, the way you're nodding, I think you might want to have some additional thoughts to it. But I really do appreciate you talk about we work in partnership and in collaboration. But Father Freddie, I know that you've been a really great advocate at the ministries that you served. I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about that interdisciplinary work.
I don't think I can say it better than Deborah has said it. In the end, it's just one person. Although we can focus on the mind, we can focus on the body, the physical aspect, we can focus on the spirit. In the end, it's really the one person, the whole person care. And I've always thought that mental health is, I would say, focuses on the well-being of the mind. And of course, when the mind is sick, the whole person is sick. And how important it is that we pay close attention to our mental health and well-being, especially in this time. And when I think of spiritual health, I think of the focus on quality of life, meaning, purpose, and having balance. But as Deborah said, and I'm saying the same, that in the end, it's really about caring for the whole person, so they are emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and physically healthy.
And I think about what Teleso shared earlier. We care that whole person by providing love, by providing that sense that, the person that we meet in front of us is loved. Teleso, I'm just curious in terms of if you have anything more to add when we talk about both the interdisciplinary component as well as that, understanding that mental and spiritual health distinction or blending of that.
Right. Well, I think under the umbrella of spiritual health, it's understanding that that in any given moment, second, that people have the potential to grow, and that's to grow cognitively, emotionally, spiritually, or physically. An interdisciplinary team, and I mean, it allows us to really focus on the whole person with this understanding that there's always potential here for growth for everybody. So the value of the interdisciplinary team is great. It's magnificent. But just like my colleague says, just as other parts of the body can become ill, the mind can become ill. And as much as we look at the body and its parts differently, so we can treat it and understand it, but we're one system, and when one part of the system is ill, it affects the other parts.
It's really well said, and I particularly also like the fact of the growth. That we're all always growing, even maybe our physical bodies may be growing in a different way. We're all growing, right? In mind, body, and spirit. Gosh, this has been such a great conversation. I'm afraid that time is saying that I need to bring it a little bit to a close, but I want the three of you to have a chance to share what you think is most important for our viewing audience to know about the work that you help lead as spiritual health leaders. What's the most important thing that you would want people to take away from this time? And I'm going to turn first to Deborah.
Thank you for that. I think the most important thing that I would share is that we have a group of incredibly compassionate professionals who is coming alongside our patients and our caregivers and their families, seeking to understand who they are, seeking to see them as they are, and then journeying with them from that place of understanding. And we don't come in with an agenda. We come in seeking to, as Teleso so beautifully said, to love the whole person and to join them in whatever space they find themselves in and help to bring them possibly to a better place out of that moment. And that would certainly be what we would hope for.
Oh, such beautiful words. Thank you so much, Deborah. And tell us, so what would you like to share with this group to know?
Well, I think life is definitely full of times of joy and celebration, but on the other end, it is also includes brokenness, sorrow, and but in those broken places, there, like you said, there's healing and there's mending, and as part of Providence St. Joseph's, we're here to be part of that healing and that mending. So I thank all my colleagues and all of us for this work.
It is privileged work, isn't it? Thank you so much, Telso. And Father Freddie, what else would you add in terms of what do you think is important for this viewing audience to know about spiritual health services?
Teresa, this is a very important conversation, and I'm so grateful that you invited me to be part of it. And I'm really grateful being at Providence and serving at Providence because of the emphasis that we place on the whole person care, body, mind, and spirit. And we all work together with the different teams to make that happen. So maybe my takeaway is that improving our spiritual health is important. Nurturing and sustaining it is essential. We are living in such a very difficult time, and how important it is that we stay grounded. And what a better way to stay grounded than connecting with those who can provide the support. And I really love the philosophy of Ubuntu. which states that there is a oneness to humanity, and we are all connected in a way that's not visible to the human eye, and how important it is that we remain available for and in support of each other, especially in times like this one.
Wow, such great wisdom from all of you. It's been a real delight to have this time with you and just to soak in this great wisdom from all of you, your experiences. And we are blessed in Providence St. Joseph Health with your leadership. More to come, and I'm really actually excited that we are going to have more to come. So I want to thank everyone. Thank you three in particular, Telso, Father Freddie, and Deborah, for leading this conversation. And thank all of you who have been watching. We hope you'll join us on October 10th when we will be featuring three chaplains who will be talking about the day of the life of a chaplain. For our caregivers, we are pleased to share that we do have spiritual support provided virtually as well through our Telespiritual Health, and that can be found on our Choose Well platform. And then for those of you who have loved ones or who yourself are experiencing care from Providence St. Joseph Health, please know that you can ask any clinician to contact the local spiritual care department, and we're happy to provide that spiritual support to you. Again, thank you for watching this broadcast, and I hope you have a wonderful day.